Well, that's the million-dollar question, Rick, that every team's trying to figure out here, right? We always talk about, hey, can you win now in the NFL when your quarterback's on that rookie contract, right? Before the Eagles have to extend Jalen, can they get enough pieces, those high-priced veterans, right? Because college players are cheap.
The NFLPA Collegiate Bowl joining us right here on the Football Playbook today. Good morning, Dane. How are you out there in Kansas City?
Hey, Rick, your fans don't want to see that, man. They're going to be thinking that we're on radio here, bud.
Well, they're talking about the truffle shuffle now. Now they're speaking my language from the beginning. So I'm sure you've had quite a few offensive linemen that you don't want to see do the truffle shuffle during your time as director of pro personnel for the Raiders. Of course, currently with the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl. And I know you've been on the scouting trails. We'll get into that in just a second. Some good college football action tonight. As a matter of fact, some NFL Thursday night football we'll dive into. But I want to pick your brain, being in the front office and having made these decisions when it comes to free agency, right? And we talked about it last week. We kind of dove into what a Jalen Hurts contract and the ramifications could be. Well, knowing that and seeing how well Hurts has played now, there's going to have to be some decisions to be made. And I just went just to go see, because I've heard all this talk, well, the Eagles have a lot of pending free agents. I said, well, how many could it possibly be? And I went and looked, and they got almost like a half a dozen players on each side of the ball. They got 11 starters, like 3 or 4 key role players set to hit the open market. And, oh, by the way, Jalen Hurts is going to want his money too. So I wanted to kind of pick your brain about, does this conversation happen in season? Do you put it off to the off season? How do you kind of prepare or game plan that, especially when it's only week 2, you're 2-0, you're sitting atop the NFC East. Vegas has got you as the fourth favorite to go to the Super Bowl. How do you balance the two?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, Rick, that every team's trying to figure out here, right? We always talk about, hey, can you win now in the NFL when your quarterback's on that rookie contract, right? Before the Eagles have to extend Jalen, can they get enough pieces, those high-priced veterans, right? Because college players are cheap. The guys we draft, the guys we sign after the draft that we're going to have on roster for 3, 4, up to 5 years with a first-round pick, those guys are relatively inexpensive compared to what we're paying. For instance, you talk about the Eagles, right? We're talking about a team with $61 million in dead money. Out of $214 million, Rick, $61 million of that is dead, meaning that they're paying players. They're paying Alshon Jeffrey $5.5 million this year, Rick, or at least he's counting towards that much on the salary cap this year. So when you're sitting here and you're talking about these high-priced free agents, right? Hargrave, for instance, he's number 1 on the salary cap this year at $17.8 million. Now, $12.75 of it is what he's actually getting paid. The rest is prorated signing bonus. But that's going to be a big chunk, right? That, hey, look, they're probably going to lose him. The one thing that the Eagles really have mastered and that Howie Roseman and co. do a great job of is they play the compensatory pick game. They are willing to lose these guys, right? For instance, we're talking about guys like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, right, who they just acquired from the Saints in a trade. All right, he may not have gotten as much play time in New Orleans, which is obviously why they were willing to part ways with him at a relatively low late-round pick cost. Okay, now he's a UFA after this year. If he goes on and if he continues to play well for the Eagles and he goes on and signs with another team for a decent-sized contract, that's going to be a late-round compensatory pick for the Eagles this upcoming season. So you have all these factors that roll into it, right? Javon Hargrave, still a younger man. I believe he's 31, somewhere around there. 29. Okay. So he's 29, maybe going to be 30 by the time unrestricted free agency rolls around. He's still in prime position, still playing at a high level to go on and go get that third contract, right? He was a rookie with the Steelers. He signed that second contract with the Eagles. He can go get that third contract this offseason. Again, if he does that, compensatory pick for the Eagles. So you do have a lot of pieces right now. I think this is a good test case with a lot of these higher priced veterans, right? We know Brandon Graham's not coming back. We know that, Jason Kelsey's not going to be coming back. So they have loaded up. They recruited those guys for this big push this year. And then it's going to be a retooling. And oh, by the way, we'll get a lot of that 61 million in dead cap space back going forward.
Well, yeah, I mean, the championship window is here, right? Because this is the core. And I did not know a lot of the stuff that you just stated, but it's interesting because Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is a free agent. So is the other starter, Marcus Epps. Chances are slim that both of them are coming back. And then you mentioned Hargrave. Oh, by the way, Fletcher Cox, some might say the heart and soul of this defense, is a free agent. And you got a guy like Jordan Davis, who you drafted 14th overall, but he can't get on the field for more than 20 snaps a game. So how do you weigh the risk reward of Jordan Davis is still an unproven commodity as far as I'm concerned. The guy has 40 NFL career snaps. But if Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave leave, how do you just have the confidence to say, okay, Jordan Davis, it's your time. Marlon Tuipulotu, it's your time. Like, that's a big to do in the offseason. Like, how do you weigh the risk reward of an aging veteran, a guy like Fletcher Cox, who's going to bring leadership inside the locker room, right? His contract goes beyond the inside the white lines. It goes outside the playing field. And so there's going to be some big decisions to make. I don't know if you've ever been in this situation, but how do you weigh the veteran versus the rookie? Because there's going to be a lot of decisions to be the defensive line, the secondary. A lot of these positions are going to need to make those decisions. We'll get into the offense and running backs in a second, but let's stay on the defensive side. How do you weigh the risk reward of these decision-making processes?
You got to see guys like Jordan Davis as a rookie continue to progress, right? It's tough being a big man, really coming in and being an impactful player, especially when you're running with a second string. But, again, hey, Fletcher Cox, likely not going to be back, right? Javon Hargrave, likely not going to be back. They've got this year to have those two big horses out there, right? Starting for this front, and next year it's Jordan Davis's year. This is, again, a way, right? We're going to lose that money, Rick. I mean, we're talking about the highest cap guy on the team in Hargrave, $17.8 million. What is he? I mean, Fletcher Cox, he's accounting for $4 million. So you're talking about over $20 million we're going to free up next year in salary cap by, having Jordan Davis with, who's ever going to be starting alongside of him next year as well. So, you know what? We do have an opportunity this year as a rookie, to your point, Rick. We're going to evaluate Jordan Davis every single day. Every single Wednesday, Thursday, Friday practice. Hey, is he improving? Is he working his technique? Is he working on his pad level? Or is he getting in better physical shape? As you and I talk about all the time in our collegiate bowl meetings, right? These guys are going to make their biggest leap from year 1 to year 2. This whole offseason, what was Jordan Davis preparing for? A 40-yard dash, a vertical jump, running the 3-cone. He wasn't doing anything football-wise. He was merely preparing for the combine and for doing pro day type drills. That all changes after this season ends, right? Then he's going to be full-time with dietitians. He's going to be full-time with the Eagles strength and conditioning staff. He is going to have an entire offseason devoted to football and functional movement and power type play, right? That's going to benefit Jordan Davis, and he should be a better player in better physical condition and with much leaner muscle mass next year than he ever will be this year as a rookie. So, my response to you, Rick, is that when it comes to evaluating the proven veteran versus the unproven rookie, right, we need to obviously gauge where Jordan's going to be by the end of the year so that we can either sit there and say, hey, we may need to talk to Hargrave about coming back. If so, at what price point, right? These are all the things we got to weigh, but we still need to evaluate these guys as a rookie, try and get them into the games as much as we can because you can't simulate reps like game reps. And you know what? And If at the end of the day we feel comfortable, okay, we can move on from the veterans. If we don't feel comfortable, hey, we better go to plan B and either target somebody else or talk one of these guys into coming back.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of interesting decisions in all three levels of that defense. Brandon Graham on the defensive end is also a free agent. In the second level, you got two starting linebackers, TJ Edwards and Kaiser White, both hitting the open free agent market, yet Nakobe Dean hasn't seen the field for more than 5 snaps in 2 weeks combined. So that's going to be another evaluation process, because the chances of signing both Kaiser White and TJ Edwards is probably slim to none. Oh, by the way, James Bradbury is going to be in the free agency along with their 2 starting safeties. Like, this is going to be a hard offseason for the Eagles to navigate. And we spent a lot of time on the defensive side, but I look on the offensive side, like Miles Sanders is a guy he's played his best football of his life, no doubt about it, but he's also only played 50% of the snaps. Yeah. Kenny Gainwell and Boston Scott have split the other 50%. So in this day and age, and with all these pending free agents, like, it almost seems like a foregone conclusion. Miles Sanders, there's no way. Like, look at Chase Edmonds. I think that's $6 to $8 million a year, and he's kind of in that tier 2 category. Like, I wouldn't put Miles Sanders as a stud, but he's probably in that tier 2, tier 3 category, like a Chase Edmonds. Like, how do you justify paying Hurts and a running back all these decisions on defense? It's like, that's the one position I feel like you really can't splurge on the running back position, right?
Well, you can and you can't, right? Because it's all relative. Are we talking about paying them, north of 10 million? Okay, then that would certainly be a splurge. But Miles Sanders has produced, Rick, as you're saying, right? Like, he's been a good football player for them. Yep. And to your point, he's still getting, if he's getting 50% of the shares and the other 2 guys are getting, the other 50%, well, he's still getting the lion's share in that regard. So, the one thing you can say about Miles Sanders is that he's been very productive. I mean, he averages over 5 yards a carry in his pro career. Well, shit, Rick, pardon my language, but a good running back averages 4.5 yards in the National Football League. So Miles Sanders is half a yard better every time he touches the ball than the standard for a good running back. Not to mention, he's also caught over 100 balls in his NFL career. Right. So just as a pro, he's proven that he can be more than just a first and second down rusher. He's proven that he can be more than just a third down back. He has roles on this football team that I think warrant him getting that contract extension. Now, again, when we're talking about every year salary cap's going to go up, barring, the 2020 season, right? Every other year it's gone up. The other thing that, again, I'm going to keep harping on it, right? $61 million in dead money this year. Some of that dead money's going to Fletcher Cox. Some of it's going to the guys that are still on the roster. And you asked the question, why is that? Well, that's because they know we're going to have to extend Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is coming up. He's in year 3, which means that after the season, his rookie contract can be extended. Okay. Well, if the salary cap's already going up from $214 million, and we're going to get at least $60 million in credit back next year that we currently have allocated to paying off those former high-priced veterans, the Alshon Jeffries, the Fletcher Coxes, etc., Brandon Graham, Javon Hargrave, once those guys are off the books, now we've freed up a significant amount of money that's going to go to extending our quarterback, as well as refurbishing the roster. James Bradbury, we just signed him this year. We're going to lose him next year in unrestricted free agency, right? Again, goes and signs somewhere, we get a compensatory pick. They have mounted this roster. They've massaged these contracts. They've brought in these defensive players largely on one-year deals, all geared up to winning the Super Bowl this year. If they do that, they're going to cut all that dead cap space. They're going to waive sayonara to all these defensive players. They're going to receive compensatory draft picks to go along with the regular slate of draft picks. And guess what? Now we can retool and we can build that next nucleus of Eagles football.
It's going to be interesting. They got to move and shake a lot of money around there. Miles Sanders, I love him, but I always have a problem paying running backs money, and it's going to be an interesting decision because Devonta Smith, oh, by the way, will be doing 2 years. You got Hurts making all this money. But like the Vikings, they paid Kirk Cousins. They had a relatively good defense until they had to pay Kirk Cousins. And from what you're telling me, a lot of these guys aren't going to be here. So we'll keep our finger on the pulse as the season goes on. But I thought it was intriguing. And the last one I want to ask you about this is like, how much is the pressure turned up? You mentioned, like, I don't know if Eagles fans realize how much this team was built to be all in this year and really win this year. It's built for this season. Does that get turned up a notch inside the building? Like, is Howie Roseman, Ric Serritella, are they feeling that pressure to do it this year? Like, does that creep into the back of your head?
Oh yeah, all the time. And I'd say the coaches feel that more than personnel people do, because coaches always feel like they're on a 1-year contract, right? That it's always, hey, it's in a sense Super Bowl or bust. It's, really show that we can compete for a championship every single year or bust. On a personnel side, you're feeling it, right? Because you've assembled this talent. It's not easy to add these guys. It's not easy to find trade partners that are willing to deal you quality players that are going to help your team at a reasonably low cost, right? These things are difficult. It's difficult to hit on a lot of draft picks on a year-to-year basis so that you can really build that nucleus of your team. It's difficult to find a quarterback. It's difficult to keep these guys healthy. It's difficult to field a competitive team for 17 weeks and then go out and start the postseason play. These things are extremely difficult, which is why, all what New England and Brady and Belichick did for the better part of the last 2 decades is all the more impressive, right? These things are not easily accomplished. But, so from the personnel standpoint, when you feel like, hey, look, this could be our year, we've got our ducks in a row. We feel like we've put together the right roster that can challenge, not only win the NFC East, our division, but go on and rival the Rams, rival the Buccaneers, the elite teams in the NFC, so that we can go and compete in the Super Bowl, right? That's what they feel like they've done. So you definitely are cognizant of that window, all the work that's gone into it, and now is our time to shine. Because we know that, hey, look, we're going to have to start cutting bait with some of these guys after the year from a financial standpoint. So we better do it while we have them before we have to retool, rebuild, whatever you want to claim it.
Now, there's going to be a lot of decision-making going on each and every week, evaluation, and Dane Vandernat, of course, 10 years with the Oakland Raiders, currently NFLPA Collegiate Bowl. Oh, by the way, we've got some college football tonight. We'll get into your scouting trails in just a second, but for those of our listeners that just love football, we'll get to the Steelers and Browns in a second, but let's keep it NFL, and then we'll switch to the college gear. Steelers at the Browns. I haven't had a chance to check the rosters. Do we have any NFLPA Bowl alumni going on tonight?
Oh, shoot. Well, we got 3 active on the Steelers and 4 active on the Browns. So, I know nobody wants to talk about the punter for the Steelers, but our man Presley Harvin, Rick, one of the guys you'd probably least pick out of a lineup to be the punter is the starting punter for the Steelers. Been doing a great job. Jameer Jones, outside backer from Notre Dame, is still there hanging around. And Arthur Mollett, who you did a great job highlighting in a piece for us this week, Rick. He's bringing up the nickel special teams role for Pittsburgh. And then we've got a great rookie in D'Anthony Bell, safety for Cleveland, making a mainstay on special teams. Yeah. Demetric Felton, one of those running backs similar to Miles Sanders, a guy that can be versatile and do a lot of different things. Jordan Kunasek, who you also highlighted, and Michael Woods II, our man from Oklahoma that, had a phenomenal NFLPA Bowl this year. So those 7 guys are on active rosters, hoping all 7 are going to be active tonight. And then we have quite a few, guys. We have 4 practice squatters for the Steelers, 3 for the Browns. Oh, by the way, we got some familiar names to Eagle fans, and Jason Huntley, running back. He's on the practice squad for the Steelers.
Oh, okay.
As well as Chappelle Russell, Temple Tough, Rick, linebacker with the Steelers as well.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So Huntley, I always liked Huntley coming out. New Mexico State had some kick return experience as well there. So, hey, don't hate on the punters, Dane. Aaron Sipas is a big global sensation after his special teams tackle this past week. They're going outrageous down there in Australia over Sipas. He's a global superstar now. So good job there with man. It sounds like about 15 guys from the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl will be participating in tonight's Steelers at Browns game. I'll have some more on that later on in the show. But I mentioned West Virginia, Virginia Tech is also tonight on the college football docket. Let's change gears here. And, you know, so far, I think the Eagles want to re-sign Jalen Hurts, but they do have to keep their fingers on the pulse with some of these other college quarterbacks. JT Daniels is a guy, maybe not one of the higher round draft picks, but Howie Roseman always seems to draft a quarterback on day 2 or day 3. He likes to have those quarterbacks in the stable. So what are some guys that we should be looking out for here in tonight's game?
Yeah, well, I mean, to your point, and that was always Bill Walsh's point too, right? That, hey, draft a quarterback every year and see if you hit on one. Because if you do, okay, well, great. We have the most important position in all of sports, in our meeting room, sitting there, develop into a backup. Maybe he has a chance if he gets into some games, right? You think of a guy, who's our man, the beard from Harvard that is now an analyst.
Yeah, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, man. I love
He's wearing Hawaii shirts now on the pregame show.
Getting all his chest hair out to go with his beard, man. I love it. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, right? I mean, to me, he's the quintessential backup. You draft in a late round. I think he was a 7th round pick, if I'm not mistaken. You draft him late. You have him sit, maybe he's on practice squad year 1, but, he's an intelligent guy. He knows the playbook. He goes out there. He's a great – I don't want to just say cheerleader in your quarterback room for your starter, but he's a great member of supporting cast that can sit there and help out the quarterback, tells you what he sees and work through some of those things. All the while he's learning as well. But Ryan Fitzpatrick did a great job in his, 23-year NFL career with 31 clubs, it seems like. He did a great job hanging in there, performing when he had an opportunity, and he earned himself a couple contracts and some starting opportunities as well. So for me, I agree with that Bill Walsh, that Howie Roseman philosophy. Hey, see if you hit on a guy. If you do, it's a really good investment, especially if it's a day 3 pick. It's a, low risk, high reward type pick. You have JT Daniels, as you mentioned, from West Virginia, quarterbacking, former 5-star recruit from USC to Georgia, now getting some play time up there at West Virginia. Big year for him to show, we know he has the physical, athletic, arm talent. Now can he put the consistency out there for NFL talent evaluators? He's going up against underclassman Grant Wells, the old Marshall, West Virginia transfer. Yeah. Now he's over there, VPI. He's got some receivers there, Rick, a couple other transfers, right? Jaden Blue from Temple Tough also there.
Yes.
He's got some talent. He's a little bit of the smaller sized, he's about 5'10 and a half, 190, can work some of the slot, really good hands. Connor Blumrick, right? He's a Texas A&M transfer. He was a quarterback at one point, but he's one of the leading receivers now for Grant Wells in that Virginia Tech offense. He's playing tight end. And then they have Caleb Smith, receiver, homegrown, and Nick Gallo, tight end, also helping to lead a pretty potent passing game there for Virginia Tech.
Yeah,
and then for West Virginia, not only do we have, JT Daniels, but he's thrown to Bryce Ford Wheaton, big-bodied receiver, has played well so far this year going up against Pitt in some of the other games that they've had. Going up against this Virginia Tech secondary, got a lot of senior starters, Armani Chapman, Chamari Connor, Byron Murray, Nazir People. So you got some talent on both sides. Rick, as we always talk about, we love seeing when we're evaluating guys for the NFL, we want to see matchups. The NFL is a matchup league. We want to see these guys go one-on-one against other comparable guys that are also going to be playing on Sundays. So this is a good matchup that we can see JT Daniels, Bryce Ford Wheaton against this senior secondary, right? Guys that we're going to be talking about here, not only from the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl, but also, in the draft and post-draft free agency.
I had a chance to see JT Daniels week 1. He looked pretty good, man. I think he still has some potential there. And Jaden Blue, who you mentioned, this guy's catch radius, I just remember him having some of the longest arms I've ever seen when I saw him down at Temple. So I'll be keeping an eye on that. Of course, you were on location across the nation last week, this week. Let's start off with your travels from last week. Where did you go? What did you see?
Yeah, back out in Manhattan, Kansas, Rick, to go see K-State, undefeated K-State take on undefeated Tulane. And both teams couldn't leave the day with that same record. And Tulane ended up winning up there in a big upset. You know, I think they had a little chip on their shoulder, man. But the Green Wave, Coach Willie Fritz, very well coached team. They got some really good tacklers. They have they're a talented group of 5 team. You know, K-State's a good football team. You know, they took it to a good FCS team in South Dakota. They were, 2-0 going into this thing. I expect K-State to be in a nice bowl this year. They got Oklahoma this weekend. It'll be a good test. But K-State has some pieces, and Tulane went up there and did a nice job bottling them up and playing a competitive game. So enjoyed seeing that one. Had a couple, linebackers that really went off, for Kansas State. One of their linebackers I really like, Daniel Green. He's the other 22 to go with Deuce Vaughn over there. But Daniel Green, he had a nice interception return, little 49-yarder against Tulane. He's more of an instinctive downhill linebacker, showed that he can factor in the passing game, if you will. And then for Tulane, they've got a will linebacker in Dorian Williams, who's very athletic. He's struggled with some injuries in his collegiate career, but, he's another one of those athletic, long, instinctive, stacked linebackers, runs similar system. He'll be a nice prospect for the Eagles to take a look at because that's what he does best. He plays off the ball. He reads the play, and then he's got the athleticism, the speed, the range to go and get it. So, it's great to see those two guys, make plays for their respective teams last Saturday.
And we're combing the country, always looking for talent. The most diverse all-star game in the country, the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl, coming January 2023. Of course, you can go to collegiate.nflpa.com for Dane's reports, my reports. We're highlighting prospects. We're covering NFLPA Bowl alumni. And oh, by the way, in case you thought I forgot, it's 217 days until the 2023 NFL draft out there in your neck of the woods, Kansas City, Dane. Where will you be this weekend scouting for talent?
We'll go see some Mountain West play this weekend, Rick. We're going to head on over to Air Force tomorrow night, go see Air Force take on the Wolfpack in Nevada, and then we're going to go drop into Colorado State on Saturday and see their game there against Sac State. So, excited to see these teams get out in the Denver area is, one of the most gorgeous places you can be, especially this time of year. So, got some interesting prospects at really all 4 schools that we'll end up seeing on Saturday. So, as you're saying, Rick, keep an eye out. We'll put out some more reports early next week on some of the guys that shined in these games.
Yeah, that running back over there at Nevada, Toa, he's he's a cannonball.
Yes,
guy.
He is.
He's
like 5'7", like 250 pounds. It seems like, and he's just sitting there ricocheting off guys. Man, he's productive as all get up. I really like him. He's a fun little running back to watch, man.
I do. I enjoy watching him play. All right. What about before we get you out of here this weekend? Don't look now. My Jersey boys, Rutgers, riding high, 3-0 at home against Iowa. They're saying the stadium's going to be a sold-out affair. They haven't seen anything like this in Rutgers in a very long time. That's what I'll be keeping an eye on. But what is Dane Vandernat going to be watching this weekend?
I just want to hear if they're bringing back the Metallica, for the Rutgers defense when it comes time to make a play. But, that's an interesting game, Rick, just because, we need to find out about both these teams. You're saying 3-0 Rutgers. Okay, well, Iowa, you just lost at home to Iowa State, your big in-state rival. Iowa State's a good matchup. I'll talk about them in a minute here. But, Iowa has been less than glamorous so far. So want to see what type of team is Iowa really fielding. They got a lot of really impressive seniors draft pick-wise, but, that's not the same as being a great college football team for the season. Want to see, can Spencer Petras, make some things happen. Want to see some of these guys really come on and shine. But I think you got some really good games this weekend in addition to that Big Ten matchup. In the ACC, we got Clemson, Wake Forest, right? We got some big quarterbacks be going head-to-head. SEC East, we got another rivalry game, Florida, Tennessee. SEC West down at Jerry World, Rick. We got Texas A&M, Arkansas. But I really am looking forward to this Iowa State-Baylor game, right? Two teams, Rick, that in my opinion are sneaky good, that are going to factor into the top 25. Baylor's already highly ranked. They got some big D linemen, right? Siaki Ika, TJ Franklin, Jackson Player. They're going to be going up against Trevor Downing, the left guard from Iowa State. Really fun matchup that will be to watch, to, really see, how is Trevor Downing? He's a highly rated guard. He should be a draft pick this year from Iowa State. We'll see how he's going to hold up, versus the power of this interior line for Baylor. And then you've got some long Baylor DBs and Mark Milton, Al Wolcott going up against Cyclone receiver Xavier Hutchinson. Xavier Hutchinson's been a mainstay for this Iowa State offense. He's a big, physical, athletic receiver. I want to see how he's going to go in this great test this week. Had a good one last week going up against the Iowa DBs. This will be another strong opponent for NFL evaluators to watch him play. And then you've got Iowa State DN Will McDonald, right? One of the elite pass rushers coming out of this year's draft. I think he's going to be a first or second round pick, barring the unforeseen. He is extremely long, extremely athletic, plays a little bit out of position at Iowa State. They play that three-man front, so he's reduced down a little bit. He's going to be an edge rusher. Philadelphia Eagles would love to draft this kid to get after it, replace some of these D linemen we're talking about. He's going to go up against Connor Galvin for Baylor, a returning senior. Should be a fun matchup, and really we'll get a chance to evaluate Connor more than we're going to evaluate Will in that matchup there, Rick. But, one of the other matchups I'm looking forward to seeing on Saturday.
Yeah, well, Lane Johnson, another guy who might not be back in Philadelphia. Sure. Connor Galvin is a guy, and I got to tell you, that Baylor head coach, Dave Aranda, I had a chance to spend almost an hour with him, like one-on-one at the Maxwell Club. I was so impressed with his attention to detail, his thoroughness, his business-like approach. I think Baylor is going to be playing in a big-time bowl game. And Tennessee, who you mentioned, their schedule, if you look at how their schedule aligns, I talk about Kentucky and Will Levis and how they have a chance to go pretty far, but Tennessee is kind of a dark horse in the SEC. So some great games, some awesome matchups, some prospects you need to know. That's why we bring on the man, the myth, the legend, Dane Vandernat out there for your home for the 2023 NFL Draft, just 217 days away. We're keeping tabs out here, Dane. We'll see you next week, and I'm sure you and I will be chatting offline about these prospects for the 2023 NFLPA Collegiate Bowl.
Always looking forward to it, Rick, man. Love the show.